Hello, hello, hello. It's episode 4 and it's sewing Bee Synopsis time. So if you haven't watched, you know what to do. Hi there, my name's Sam and you're watching my channel Sew It Sparkle with Sam, and as I said, it's episode 4. So it's reduce, reuse, recycle week at Sewing Bee, and I'm going to take you through what happened, the best bits, and show you a little bit of what I enjoyed. Week 4. Do you know what? I love this week. I love recycle week, and it hasn't changed even though this week has happened, still my favourite make from recycle week is, I think it was series 7, when I think it was Ralph who made, was it Ralph, was that his name? Lovely French guy, and he made a denim dress all from recycled denim, and it's still my favourite, and if I can find a picture of it I'll put it in. So yeah, and it hasn't changed, it's still my favourite Sewing Bee ever recycle week garment. So what I'm wearing, so this week I thought I'd take the spirit of recycle and reuse week, and I'm not wearing a Me Made. I'm actually wearing my favourite charity shop find, and it's a very simple black shirt, but if you look very closely on it, you can see it's got planets and stars, which is all very me. And it was just one of those things, I went into the charity shop and I saw it and straight away I knew it had to come home with me. It's got these beautiful kind of mismatched buttons on. It's very difficult for you to see, but they're black, but they look like the kind of paint has been scratched. They're not painted, but it looks like, you know, when you kind of scratch the paint away from a blackboard and you kind of get the edge. Yeah, and then there's obviously the stars and the planets and everything about it. It just makes me feel really nice when I wear it. And I think it cost me £2.50 from a charity shop. So somebody didn't love it anymore, and I now love it, and I've actually had it. I think I've had it for about 10 years now. So it's definitely getting its wear. I'm not adding to that 92 billion kilos of fabrics that get dumped into landfill, which is just phenomenal, isn't it? So should we start with the pattern challenge? So I just have to say, I didn't manage to get a picture of this when I was watching, but Don's face when he found out what the pattern challenge was a picture. It was just like, oh no. But I have to say, the rest of the contestants, a lot of the contestants were really excited about this week. A lot of them obviously use a lot of recycled fabrics in their makes. A lot of them love the kind of recycled and sustainability element of their sewing, and they were really excited about it. So yeah, that was kind of, I was looking forward to seeing their creativity and their excitement. So pattern challenge. Esme gave them a pattern challenge, and it was to make a confetti quilted bag. So basically it was to make a fabric bag out of scraps. Now I've had a look in my trusty Back to Basics book, and there is a similar pattern. Now the bag that they had to make was more of a handbag style, and the one in the book is a quilted tote bag. And I might give that a go. I've got a lot of scraps, and I actually thought they looked quite interesting, the way that they did it. I think it would be, you know, quite a nice mindful activity in a way to use up all of those little tiny bits of scrap that you never quite know what to do with. Anyhow, I just digress. I'll pop a picture up of the bag that they had to replicate and make. It was a handbag style with a flap and a zip. And it was made from like a quilted scrappy panel. Yeah, this one, it was quite a difficult one for me to watch, because it was quite a simple kind of making away, but it was made difficult by lots of the different elements. And Susie got quite upset, and I don't like it when you watch people get upset on television, because the mummy in me just wants to go in, sweep in and hug it out. Go, it's okay, it's fine. But she got really upset, and I think the reason that she got upset was she had a very fixed idea of what she wanted her scraps to look like when it was finished. And of course, fabric doesn't always behave in the way that you want it to do, and particularly with scrap fabric, it just wanted to lay wherever it wanted to lay. So yeah, she did get quite upset. So yeah, and this is where the title of my video came today, because one of the things that Don said during this challenge was, there are times when life can't be perfect. And I thought, you know what, that's a brilliant title for this week's vlog. So I will pop in a few pictures as I'm talking. I haven't got pictures of everything, but I have got a picture of them all together with their finished bags. So I'll start with Alex. Alex's flap was slightly off, but other than that, I think it was a pretty good attempt. Marcus didn't use enough scraps, so he ended up with lots and lots of patches in his bag. So yeah, I think that was one of the things. Obviously, there's a fine line between using too much and not enough, and Marcus just didn't put enough scraps in his bag. Luke, they finished with time to spare, which I thought was quite impressive. But they had managed to catch their zip in, so it wasn't perfect, but they did have some extra time, and so they made a little kind of like key fob tag, you know, like you get on very posh handbags. Sometimes you get like a little extra tag. So yeah, they made one of those and added that on, which, you know, bit extra, like a bit extra. Georgie, I love Georgie's colour, the use of colour, and but unfortunately I think she was a little bit stuck for time, because I don't think all of her fixings were hand sewn on particularly well. Darn. Oh, it was all in a bit of a muddle, and he got in a bit of a muddle, and his zip wasn't in quite correctly, and yeah, he put things on the wrong way. He had to unpick, and unpicking organza, I can tell you from experience, is not the easiest thing to do. So yeah, it wasn't great. And then Ailsa was lovely, actually. It was really nicely placed, and it was very well stuffed, so it kind of looked like a nice padded bag. Susie, I think because she had a wobble, you could tell that, you know, there was wobbly quilting, the zip was caught, there was no clasp. It was, yeah, you could tell that this wasn't her favourite challenge. Lauren did hers in all pink, which seems to be a bit of a theme for Lauren. She's definitely a pinky girl, and her zip got so stuck, there's me and Patrick couldn't even open the bag to have a look. So Pasha decided to, as well as her scraps, to cut some hearts out of her scrap fabric and lay them on top, which actually did give a really nice effect. And I will pop a picture of Pasha's up there, and it was a nice construction. So in that challenge, it went as in 9th place was Don, 8th was Susie, 7th was Lauren, 6th was Marcus, 5th was Luke, 4th was Georgie, 3rd was Alex, 2nd was Ailsa, and 1st was Pasha. So that was the pattern challenge, and next was the transformation challenge. Now, as I mentioned before about all of the kilos and kilos and kilos of fabrics and clothing that goes into landfill, which is just, in my opinion, disgusting, they decided to use some of it for their transformation challenge. And this is a little bit where I need to pick up Sewing Bee a little bit, is that kudos for using those fabrics up, but only if they're going to be a wearable garment. So I do hope that after the show that the bees get a little bit of time, extra time, to properly finish their transformation challenges and actually have them as wearable garments, because otherwise they, you know, we're not really using them, are we? They're just there for our entertainment. So, which is great for an hour, but not really a lifetime of saving fabrics. So that's just my little 2 penneth worth. So it was unloved clothing, and they needed to make it new and interesting. And one of the things, they always like to put something in, and what they wanted it to be is, it could be whatever outfit they wanted, but it needed to be colour cohesive. So they needed to know what colour it was they were using, and that was quite clear. And again, Marcus, which I'm finding is a bit of a theme with Marcus, decided that he didn't do that. He picked colours that went nicely together, but he didn't choose a colour. Now, I don't know, maybe they don't explain the rules well enough to the contestants as well as they do when it's kind of taught on the television to us. But it was quite clear they needed to pick a colour. So, you know, again, listen to the instructions. You know, it's going to make me really sad if someone goes home just because they didn't listen to the instructions, which I think has already happened. So in this, as I said, they went with colours. Pasha chose black, and I think Dracula's wife was mentioned a couple of times, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She definitely went for a real kind of gothy look. And again, I thought it looked really nice. I do wonder about the wearability of it, but maybe it's just not for me. Somebody else might love to wear that. Alex went burgundy, and I love the fact that she turned a puffer jacket into a puffer skirt. And I really, really like that look. I think it might be the 80s, 90s kind of in me that like that look, because I'm pretty sure I've seen that before. Luke went white, kind of white and neutrals, and made this beautiful kind of gown, but a gown with coats turned upside down. It was very creative. It was really quite special. It was like a bustier top, and then the coats were turned the wrong way around, kind of make a skirt effect. And I think in the time, they did amazingly well to get a garment. Yeah, really enjoyed that one. Elsa went black again, and she did kind of like a clever shirt kind of, back, everything was the wrong way around, and the way that it kind of flowed was really pretty. Lauren went pink. Of course she did. And she made a pink kind of ball gown, pleated shirt. It had like, I think it was originally the back of a shirt, and then she made this into like a sash down from the top, down to the bottom, which was very pretty. Again, I'm hoping that you're going to be seeing pictures. Georgie reshaped some leopard. I think her kind of colours were blacks generally, but she went for all kind of leopard print and then with black denim, so that did kind of that. Well, Esme seemed to be pleased with it, and she reshaped the skirt. Susie went yellow, and properly went yellow, and did like a crossover top, and made a crossover top wrap skirt. I think the wrap skirt was originally a blazer. It was really quite beautiful. And Don went red for danger. I have to say, I think Don does amazing things in the time, but you could tell that time was against him a bit, and it didn't look quite transformed enough compared to what the others had done. So I had to agree with the judges with that, is that it was lovely enough, but it wasn't transformed as much as the others. And then Marcus went kind of golds, rust, browns, greens, all kind of like a funky forest kind of feel. And there was a lot going on, but I just kept getting distracted by, kind of, I wanted to shout at the telly, Marcus, what colour is it? They said a colour. So, yeah. And as a consequence, Marcus came in at 9th, Don was 8th, Susie 7th, Alex 6th, Georgie 5th, Elsa was 4th, Lauren was 3rd, Luke was 2nd, and Pasha again was 1st. So yeah, and hopefully, as I said, you'll see the pictures so you can make your mind up for yourself. And then it was made to measure. So the made to measure is 4.5 hours, and they had to transform a wedding dress. They did give us quite a lot of extra information about the time that the contestants had. Now, they were allowed to source the wedding dress from wherever they wanted, so they could, whether that was from their own wedding dress, a family member's wedding dress, a charity shop. They could get it from wherever they wanted to, and they had time to dye it and deconstruct any of the pieces at home. So a lot of them, in fact, I think all of them decided to change the colour, apart from one, decided to change the colour of their gown. And so they were allowed to do all of that work at home. And then they just had to make it to fit, made to measure during the time that they had in the show. And then they had to make the wedding dress into a party dress. So, wedding to party. So, yeah, I think that was a nice idea. So Susie, she painted hers with like a natural sponge with lace overlay, and the lace overlay that was on the original dress became an underlay on her new dress, if that kind of makes sense. As I said, hopefully you'll be seeing pictures here. And she described it as her going out dress. And it definitely was. It was a little short. I think it would be a little risque. But if you're going out, why not? It was very Susie. I think we're starting to know Susie really well now. And as soon, I think I could have seen that dress, and I would have known that was Susie's dress. Marcus used his wife's wedding dress, which I thought was very brave, all with his wife's consent. And he made menswear, and I was really excited for this make because I love it when people make menswear out of women's clothes, and vice versa. I just think that there is something about the creativity. I struggle with that part of my brain sometimes, of kind of being able to use those fabrics together. I really love that idea because I love it. I also love it when men play with kind of like different fabrics for menswear. So I was really excited about it. And I really wanted, when you're really behind someone, I really wanted him to nail it. And he didn't quite. I quite like the top part of it. I quite like the shirt and the lace, and it was all very lovely. But the trousers, well, it's a made to measure and they didn't fit. And they also just didn't quite work. Where he'd kind of placed the different fabrics on the trousers didn't quite work. So everything jarred a little bit, for me personally, everything jarred a little bit, and it didn't feel like a very cohesive outfit, mainly to do with the fact that it didn't fit. So for me that was really sad because I really wanted him to nail it and he didn't, so that was a shame. Luke used their mum's wedding dress, which I thought, how lovely. And they dyed it like a real shocking pink. And theirs was described as an 80s power. I've got to read this down. It's 80s power party dress with all the drama. And it definitely did. And as it was kind of happening, I was saying to my husband, I was like, oh, I know it's reminding me of, it's giving me like got vibes of something, a children's kind of something that the kids used to watch when they were little. And my husband said, oh, it's that girls thing. And I think it was is it the Powerpuff Girls or something like that? My daughter used to watch. Reminded me of that. Very weird. But it worked. And although, because you all know me, I embrace the weird and wonderful. And it was one of those things that I didn't think was going to work and then just really did. And I just thought it was absolutely fabulous. I thought the fit was fairly good, not perfect, but fairly good. And the drama on the shoulders and across, and it was just, really like that. Alex's was a true masterpiece in my opinion. She had painted her original wedding dress and made like a baby doll dress. But what she'd also done is she'd thought about party pants. Now we all need party pants, don't we? Underwear, for those of you watching in a different country. So she actually made underwear to go under her party dress, because you know, sometimes if your party really gets started, you might want to be in your party pants. Absolutely. And she called it her ta-da dress, because I think it's like ta-da. I've just written on my notes, I've written gorgeous, shame it was haunted. And this just goes back to that when she bought the dress from I think she bought it from a charity shop or something like that, and she tried it on, but she had to take it off quickly because she felt it was haunted, which fair enough. But it was beautiful, so it was a shame it was haunted. Elsa, now she took a super traditional dress and then she added lots of metalwork, and do you know what, I love Elsa's creativity. Whenever she goes into about what she's going to do with something, and she was, you know, making it really arty. It was called the Arty Party dress, which I love. And it, you know, however, I could see how much work she'd put in, and she always worked so hard through. You can see how much work she put in, but it was one of those like less is more or more is more kind of situations, and it still ended up looking a little bit like a traditional wedding dress. Again, I think if she'd had a little bit more time, I think her, like, the full kind of idea would have come out. I liked it. I did like it. I just felt that she didn't quite get what she wanted out of it. So yeah, that was a little bit disappointing for Elsa. But, you know. And then Georgie, bless her, beads got the better of her. She had like a lace beaded gown, original wedding gown, and she was changing it into like a lace party dress. But because she had to take all of the beads and things out of all of the seams, sorry, I've lost all of the seams, and yeah, she basically ran out of time, and so it did end up, I'm sorry to say, Georgie, it did end up a little bit of a mess, which was such a shame. And you could see in her face she was disappointed. But I think what saved Georgie was that she'd done so well in the other two rounds that they weren't really looking at her too much. And I mean, it was still a lovely party dress. She didn't have time to finish it the way that she wanted to finish it. Pasha's, I thought, was very beautiful. She was picked up on the fact that she hadn't finished her hem, but I mean, like, some of them hadn't even started a hem, so, you know, hey ho. A lovely big bow, cocktail dress. It was all one shoulder with a circle skirt. I thought it did the job. It nailed the brief. It was very beautiful. Lauren's 80s puffball dress in pink. Wow. Wow. So she changed it from a wedding dress into like a two-piece dress. I think Lauren likes to dress her model in things that are slightly risque, and she looked beautiful in it. In my mind, it didn't feel very finished. And I think in some of the dyeing as well, it didn't look like a very polished finish for me. And then Don bought his from a charity shop, and we got a little bit of information that he'd made wedding dresses for his daughters and other party dresses for his daughters. So he had a very fixed idea of what he wanted it to look like. He dyed his red, so it was, you know, a kind of deep red finished dress, and he wanted ruffles all the way up. I think you know, the idea is that he wanted it more ruffled than it actually ended up. But again, time got a little bit, you know, the better of him. So it wasn't fitted the best, and it did look a little bit untidy, which was a terrible shame. So that was a little bit disappointing. We did have the lovely Amber again this week, and she was telling us all about the origins of the wedding dress, which was really interesting. So coming to the end. So garment of the week went to Alex, which was 100% definite. I thought it was brilliant. And going home this week was Don. I think Marcus was lucky again, but I think maybe, you know, it has been the end of Don's time, and, you know, he gets to go home and have a rest, which well deserved. So I just want to say thank you, Don. Thank you so much. You've brought smiles to my face every week, so cheers. Now next week, if you're watching next week, don't forget that it is the Euros next week. So if you're watching in the UK, you normally watch on BBC One, you have to switch to BBC Two to watch it because because the football's on. So, you know, I just don't want anyone missing out. That would make me terribly sad. But I'm looking forward to next week. They're going to be working with I think we got a little snippet. It's kind of, I think I've got a lot of Indian fabrics and saris and that kind of feel to it. So I think it might just be kind of different types of fabric, maybe. They tend to have a week where they work with like more unusual fabrics. So it might be nice to see some kind of Indian cottons, and yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. As you can see on my title page and just up here, Kiell is here. So my lovely friend Nikki from Florence and Belle has finished my Kiell Peggy dolls. So I have got them all there now with their appropriate hosts and judges. So that makes me very happy indeed. So thanks ever so much for listening to my thoughts on the sewing bee. I'll see you again next week. Don't forget to sparkle. Take care. Bye for now.